morning, everyone. Oh, there you go. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Yuma County Board of Supervisor. This is the regular meeting of October the 1st, 2018. We're also sitting as a all special taxing districts at 9 a.m., so I'm calling this meeting to order. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Will everybody please stand up, and would you lead us, Supervisor Franklin?
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. The first item in the agenda is call to the public. Call to the public, it's held for the public's benefit to allow individuals to address issues within the board's jurisdiction. Board members may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to Arizona revised statutes, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to criticism, or scheduling the matter for further discussion and decisions on a future date. Now, I do have a speaker card. Now, if your item is in the agenda, then you should wait until we open up that item. But if not, Jessica Rodriguez, 198 South Main Street, something about someone's retirement. So bring it over.
Oh, that's heavy.
Good morning, Chairman Reyes and members of the board. I'm Jessica Rodriguez, Deputy Human Resources Director. Felicia and our Human Resources team would like to take this opportunity to share with you our gratification of a member of our Human Resources team who will be retiring this Wednesday on October 3rd. Diane Robinson, our Safety Compliance Manager.
What? What?
Whoa!
This is not a good time to retire.
Diane has served over 12 years and provided public service for Yuma County as well as our program for safety within Yuma County. She's had outstanding efforts, and we just want to recognize her and give her an opportunity to say something, and we're so sad to see her go, and then also to present her with a gift of gratitude.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay. For the record, I am Diane Robinson, Safety Compliance Manager, and I would like to say it's been an honor and a challenge to be the first safety program professional to establish, develop, and try and enhance our program here at Yuma County. I would like to thank all of the staff and department safety officers who worked with me through the 12 years to make their programs in their departments a success. I would like to thank the agency heads that all worked with me as well. All of you at the board, I would like to thank your participation and support for assisting me with projects that I had to see through to success. And I would like to thank Felicia for the last 2 years, my director for the last 2 years, to allow enhancements and exposure of the program in ways that did not occur before. And lastly, I would like to thank Susan Thorpe, our county administrator. From the day that Susan came here, we sat in a meeting together, and she acknowledged the program and supported it since that time. So I thank you all. It's been an honor. And I hope, as I move on to my next journey, that you all take the program and build it from the foundation that has been established, and I hope it grows and grows and becomes better and better. Thank you all very much.
Yes,
Yes?
certainly.
Okay, thank
Bring
you
it
so
over.
much.
You want to sit? Yeah. Are you sure? She may not want to. She left pretty quick.
I wanted to hug you, but you got down there too.
Hey, ladies.
We'll do just the board, and then maybe all of us together.
Oh, okay. Why don't we just avoid? Susan, come over. Wait, there. All right, now, the staff. Oh, come on, Susan, you're gonna be in the picture too, because they just wanted it. Hey, wait a minute. This is squeezing a little too tight. Oh, my God. We need to get out of the picture, guys. We need to get out of the picture here. There is no wide enough lens to cover all this. I'm a little concerned about Supervisor McLeod's hand. Too close to my wall.
You get us, Annie?
You guys gotta. Some of you who can get down and get up, not you. What does it hurt?
You guys can stand up straight. Go ahead.
Bring Kevin to pick up. All right. The next item in the agenda is, actually proclamations and appointments is the next item. Oh, wait a minute. There's a more call to the public.
Good morning, Chair and members of the board. I would like to officially recognize and welcome Mr. Willie Green, our new elections director, and have him say a couple of words about himself.
Go ahead.
Good morning, supervisors and the Yuma County community. Originally from Savannah, Georgia. Spent 10 years in Atlanta area, 3 years in Houston, Harris County area. So I'm happy to be aboard as your elections administration, and look forward to working with Robin and her team in developing the strategic plan and moving forward with the development of elections in the county.
Well, I could say if you were moving away from rain,
Yeah.
wrong time. It never rains here.
Yeah.
You just thought it was dry.
You thought you coming to a sunny place in Arizona. Right?
I started the suntan as soon as I got off the plane.
Welcome, and hopefully we'll. Thought you were gonna say something, Susan, but I'll leave it at that. All right, then, we'll move on then. Is there anyone else in the call to the public? I'm gonna leave call to the public open so that, throughout the meeting, so if somebody wants to address the board, you have an opportunity to do so. See, I knew it was something that I wanted to do with Sue. We just wanted to acknowledge you coming back and helping us through with this election process. And, it's always nice to see a familiar face we can really trust. And we've known each other for way too long to mention. Because people can figure out our ages just by how long we've been, known each other. But thank you very much for coming back. Your steady hand's always been something that, we appreciate during those particular periods of time where some people out here sweat it out a little bit more than others.
I
So
thank
thank you.
Paul and Susan and you guys for your confidence in me. Thank you for having me.
All right. Next time we're going to ask you to come up because, from the back, you can't tell who's that.
You're freaking out back there.
All right. Okay, then, are there any appointments by the board? No appointments? Then we'll move on to presentations. And the first presentation is a presentation of the county line by Yuma 77, the Yuma County Government Channel. Take it away, Ken.
Local partnerships open traffic to a popular recreation area. The library expands to allow room for their clinics, and a vigil for those who suffer. These stories and more, this is your County Line. Murder victims across the nation were recently honored during the 11th Annual National Day of Remembrance. The Victims' Rights Committee of the Yuma County Attorney's Office chose to hold an open vigil locally. Representatives throughout Yuma County attended the vigil held at the Yuma County Main Library. Nationally, the event focuses on only murder victims, but the committee organizing the event feels it's important to be more encompassing. So it is for anyone that has been somehow affected by the result of a homicide.
It's an opportunity for all of us to gather as a community and provide support to crime victims. In this particular case, we recognize victims of homicide, and share some stories and memories if that's what comes out of it, or at least provide some support to somebody who's lost a loved one or a friend, and recognize the impact it has on our community.
The guest speaker at the event was Troy Love, president of Yuma Counseling Services. The first National Day of Remembrance took place on September 25, 2007. Last November, right at the beginning of what many consider to be the off-road season, a local road to Castle Dome and the Kofa Wildlife Refuge closed. But thanks to great partnerships, it recently reopened. The rural road leading to Castle Dome, used by many outdoor enthusiasts, was closed last November. The main reason? People not following speed limits, along with the associated dust that came with many trucks, cars, and SUVs driving along. It was especially bad for visitors of the Castle Dome Museum.
We've been able to come to an agreement that with some additional speed limits and sideboards, Mr. Armstrong is willing to let the public pass through his property on the original road for this visitor season from today until April 30th, 2019.
Since that time, Yuma County, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Office, and Castle Dome Museum worked together to open the road temporarily until a new bypass is made by the Fish and Wildlife Office.
It's mainly for the public access to the South Kofas. It allows hunters to get into the area. It allows hikers to get into the area. A lot of the winter visitors, they love going out there and riding their razors or whatever they may have.
Anyone heading out that way, please follow the 15-mile-per-hour speed limit, and also close the gates. This way, the road can stay open for everyone to enjoy. For well over a year, we've been telling you about the helpful clinics at the Law Library, designed to help you navigate the legal process. When they started, the attendance was small and clinics were held in the jury assembly room or at a local library when permitted. But classes have become so popular, the Law Library recently expanded some space to create a dedicated room at their location, and all legal clinics will be held there.
Attorneys come in, give 1 to 2 clinics a month on various topics. We're able to record them. After that, we edit them, and then we're able to post them on AZ Court Help. And so if anybody ever missed a clinic, they can actually go on that website, click the link, and boom, they can watch it.
For more information about the Yuma County Law Library, you can navigate to their webpage at yumacountyaz.gov. You'll find lots of useful information about navigating the courts, and their calendar of events will clue you into future legal clinics. In this spotlight, we give you an inside look at a county department that in many ways keeps you safe from the unseen. The county's health district is always working to keep you, your family, and your community safe.
The mission of the Yuma County Health Department is to prevent the spread of disease and epidemics, promote healthy behaviors, and prevent environmental health hazards. And we do that through a series of different programs. We have the nursing division, and the nursing division has a variety of programs, including the Health Start program, which provides prenatal education. We have tuberculosis control. We have immunizations. We have the neonatal intensive care program. We have HIV case management, and we have a variety of educational classes for the public. We also have the health promotion division. In that division, you'll see things like the injury prevention program, which people know as the program responsible for distributing car seats and teaching a variety of like water safety classes, home safety classes. We also have chronic disease management and preventions. We have a nutrition program. We have a presence in every elementary and high school. We have a whole host of other educational classes meant to promote healthy behavior. The Environmental Health Division is responsible for code enforcement and upholding the sanitation codes. The registered sanitarians, they go out and conduct food inspections. They also conduct pool inspections, inspect daycare facilities, long-term care facilities. We do licensing and permitting, so when you see the mobile vendors or your restaurants or your eating establishments, we also have vector control within that division. Vector control goes out and treats and conducts surveillance to prevent the spread of diseases via mosquitoes. The primary objective of animal control is to enforce rabies vaccination and pet licensing. So our goal is to make sure we're protecting the public and ensuring the pets in incorporated areas remain healthy and free of disease. And the Vital Statistics Office is responsible for issuing both death and birth certificates, acknowledgments of paternity, and any amendments that have to be done to birth certificates. WIC is a nutritional supplement program, and so the program provides nutritional vouchers and education, as well as breastfeeding support in a variety of classes for children. Families are eligible 0 to 5, and so they also get referrals to other support agencies if needed. Because we have a variety of programs, we encourage the public to visit our website. We're always looking for ways to improve our services and learn more about how we can be more responsive to the community's needs.
Please visit yumacountyaz.gov for more information about the county's health department.
I'm Elia Juarez, and this is your library update. It's happening the day before Halloween, and it's going to be really spooky. Spooky Stargazing is coming to the main library. For the first time ever, the main library is going to be hosting our Spooky Stargazing event on October 30th. It starts at 7 o'clock, and everyone is encouraged to wear their costumes. Any ages are welcome, so bring your little kids, bring your grandparents, bring everyone. Also, bring lawn chairs, binoculars, and if you have it, a telescope. There will be some candy to hand out for the little ones while supplies last. For more information on this event and all of our other events, head over to yumalibrary.org, and don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Yuma Library.
Before we go, an important notice about the upcoming holiday. Monday, October 8th is Columbus Day, and while you might expect that county offices would be closed, they're not. That's because your county government works on this day in order to take the day after Thanksgiving as a holiday. We'd like to thank you for joining us for this County Line. If you'd like to watch past episodes, log on to yumacountyaz.gov/VOD. And don't forget, you can join us live on Facebook. We'll see you next time.
Turn that light back on. Okay, well, I do want, before we leave this particular presentation, I do want to thank Supervisor for all your efforts to open up road. I mean, we're all aware of how much work to get that, Castledon Road open, and
Thank you.
Simmons, you missed a meeting here. You must be, that was probably very important. So, we just want to make sure that you know that we notice those efforts and that they, the way they turn out. I mean, I'm sure that the residents of that area out there, and especially the winter visitors that like to visit there, are appreciative of what you've done.
Well, thank you. I was glad we were able to get the two parties together and get it done before the season started. So
how did you get the Democratic Party and the Republican Party together? I know what party you're referring to. All right, well, let's move on then. The next item in the agenda is a proclamation. It's a proclamation proclaiming October 7th to 13th as National 4-H Week in Yuma County, Arizona. Supervisor Pancrase will read the proclamation.
Okay. Good morning. Proclaiming the week of October 7th through the 13th, 2018 as National 4-H Week in Yuma County, Arizona. Whereas 4-H is Arizona's largest youth development organization, having supported almost 6 million youth across the country thus far, and whereas 4-H helps youth to become confident, independent, resilient, and compassionate leaders, and whereas 4-H is delivered by Cooperative Extension, a community of more than 100 public universities across the nation that provides experiences where young people learn by doing in hands-on projects in areas including health, science, agriculture, and citizenship. And whereas National 4-H Week showcases the incredible experiences that 4-H offers young people and highlights the remarkable 4-H youth in Yuma County, Arizona, who work each day to make positive impacts on those around them. And whereas 4-H's network of 600,000 volunteers and 3,500 professionals provide caring and supporting mentoring to all 4-Hers, helping them grow into true leaders, entrepreneurs, and visionaries. Now, therefore, I, Marco A. Tony Reyes, Chairman of the Yuma County Board of Supervisors, hereby proclaim the week of October 7th through the 13th, 2018, to be National 4-H Week in Yuma County, Arizona.
Thank you.
And I would, I'm not done, hold on.
I knew I should have
And
waited.
urge the people of this community to recognize 4-H for the significant impact they have made and continue to make by empowering youth with the skills they need to lead for a lifetime. In witness hereof, I have hereunto set my hand and affixed the official seal of the County Board of Supervisors, done at Yuma, the county seat, this first day of October 2018.
All
We
right.
have over 2,000 4-Hers in Yuma County.
Great. Now, the advisors, it's Amy?
Amy.
Amy, is anyone else here from the advisors? Just you? All right, well, we're gonna need the young ladies and young men to introduce themselves and come forward to receive the proclamation.
They each have a 5 minutes each.
Yeah. No. It's 1 minute. It's 1 minute.
I can tell you they could all do it.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sydney Pear, and I currently attend Cibola High School. I've been joined in 4-H for about 9 years now, and on behalf of my 4-H ambassador team, I would just like to thank each and every one of you for your continuous support for Yuma County 4-H. So at this time, we'll have all of our ambassadors introduce themselves to you before we give our gift of gratitude.
Hi, my name is Laura Hunt, and I'm a senior at Gila Ridge High School.
Hi, I'm Danielle Monroe, and I'm a junior at Gila Ridge High School.
Hi, my name is Taylor McNeese, and I'm a junior at Cibola High School.
Hi, my name is Mason Morris, and I'm a senior at Gila Ridge High School.
Good morning. My name is Talon Osborne, and I'm a senior at Gila Ridge High School.
My name is Lane Mellon, and I'm a senior at Gila Ridge High School.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Karsten Hansen. I'm a junior at Cibola High School.
Good morning. I'm Madison Cooper, and I'm a senior at Gila Ridge High School.
Good morning, I'm Rhiannon Lopez, and I'm also a senior at Gila Ridge High School.
You must be feeding them something because they're so tall, all of them.
So like I said before, we would just like to thank each and every one of you with our little gifts. If you would like to come help.
Well, this is normally the best part. Yeah, you hear the little tracking.
Thank you. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Oh, how cute.
You're gonna need one of these to go that road. Oh, yeah, we will have to. We will go down. We're gonna go down there and take a picture with you. This is good because it's after you give us a gift.
Yeah.
You gotta split up a little bit.
Yeah, some on one side, some on the other. Hi.
Who's gonna receive it? Squeeze in.
Yeah, as long as our heads, I'll tell you, as long as our heads are in.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, okay, wait. Okay, 1, 2, hands down. Good deal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
didn't get to take a picture.
Thank you. Oh, yes. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. I know you. And I know you. I know all of you. I've seen all of you. Okay. Bye, guys. Have a good day at school.
Thank you for asking me.
Yeah.
They just thought they were gonna get.
Gonna
the
beat
day
the
off.
rain. Okay, the next item in the agenda, boy, the room cleared. The next item in the agenda is a proclamation proclaiming the month of October 2018 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And I'll have Supervisor McLeod read
Thank
the
you, Mr.
proclamation.
Chairman. Proclaiming the month of October 2018 Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Yuma County. Whereas October is National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and whereas the crime of domestic violence violates an individual's privacy and dignity, security and humanity due to systematic use of physical, emotional, sexual, psychological, and economic control and or abuse, including abuse to children and the elderly, and whereas anyone can be a victim of domestic violence, regardless of age, sex, ability, ethnicity, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, or religion, and whereas the impact of domestic violence is wide-ranging, directly affecting individuals and society as a whole in this community, throughout the United States and the world, and whereas only a coordinated community effort will put a stop to this terrible crime, and whereas Domestic Violence Awareness Month provides an opportunity for citizens to learn more about preventing domestic violence and to show support for the numerous organizations and individuals who provide critical advocacy, services, and assistance to victims. Now, therefore, Marco A. Tony Reyes, Chairman of the Yuma County Board of Supervisors, hereby proclaims the month of October 2018 to be Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Yuma County, in recognition of victims of domestic violence and those who serve them during this month and throughout the year.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Smith. And normally we'd turn the mic over to you so you can introduce the team and accept the proclamation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. And I would like to clarify that the Victim Rights Committee is actually not part of the County Attorney's Office. We're a part of the committee itself. It's made up of all the different agencies and volunteers and support people in Yuma County who provide services to victims of domestic violence and other types of crimes. It also includes crime victims. And with that, without further ado, I'll introduce Alicia Franco, our chairperson for the committee.
Good morning to you all.
Good morning.
Good morning to you as well. A lot of our committee members out here, as Mr. Smith said, the committee is comprised of different agencies in Yuma, such as Amberley's Place. We have Arizona Children's Association. We have the group from MCAS, YPG, Healing Journey, and this wonderful committee puts on 4 events during the year. This is our last event for this year, and it will be held on October 24th at 5:30 at the park at the main library, right behind there. Speaking of resources of the county, they do a great job in providing rooms inside the library for us to use, and then the park, they set it up for us. They provide set up all the chairs and provide the PA system and everything. We will have a couple of speakers there that evening, and we invite the entire community to come out and listen to some of the stories of the victims and to people in the community who are therapists, who agencies that provide assistance to members of people who have suffered from domestic violence. And just a reminder that you can buy your purple light bulbs at Home Depot to put in your in order to honor Domestic Violence Month this month. So.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if I can chime in on that, the whole state does that. They'll light the state capitol purple, and tonight at 6:30, Amberley's Place is going to light its building. I think they have a little ceremony, if the weather permits. I believe that's when the remnants of the hurricane are going to hit about 6:30, so we'll see how that goes. There's
All right.
events throughout the month in the state of Arizona and in our nation that take place in Octobers.
Okay, so bring your team up so we can receive the proclamation.
How you doing, guys?
Is there a storm up?
Oh, I'm just standing here watching everything go by.
You guys have to squeeze in a little bit because
Yeah.
we've been trying to get a wide angle camera.
Oh, we need some girls over, women.
Too much ugliness on the right side.
I'm all by myself.
Straight, well, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know why I get a feeling that podium is on the way, but.
Yeah.
Thank
Oh, no, that's what I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's always good to say. Good job. As always. All right, I think that takes care of the proclamations we had in the schedule for today, for this morning. The next item in the agenda is the consent calendar. The consent calendar are items that are listed under the consent agenda, and they will be considered as a group and acted upon by one motion with no separate discussion. Unless a board member so requests, in that event, the item will be removed from the consent calendar for separate discussion and action. Okay, is there any items that need to be pulled out? Or that anybody wants pulled out? There's a speed limit item I would have pulled out, but they're actually increasing the speed limit, so it's fine. So, anything else? No, then I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent calendars, item 1 through 15 as presented.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second to approve consent items 1 through 15 as presented. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. That moves us into the discussion and action items. We will open each of these items separately for discussion and action as appropriate. And we'll give people 2 minutes to leave. Right. Okay, the first item is for development services, or from development services, and flood control district, how appropriate, right? Accept the pump station discharge improvement project CIP number 3.0503 study. And we will listen to a dreaded PowerPoint presentation. There you go. All right.
Hopefully it's not that bad. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Frank Sanchez, Deputy County Engineer, Engineering Division. Today we have our consultant, Mr. Kevin Dahl with Dahl Robinson Associates with us today. Mr. Dahl will be giving a brief presentation detailing the NEPDES and MS4 requirements to discharge stormwater into bioreclamation facilities. Mr. Dahl gave this presentation to the advisory board back on September 6th, in which they turned around and approved the report. Here now is Mr. Kevin Dahl. He's going to be presenting it to you guys.
Yeah, Mr. Dawes and Brief are joined together at the hips.
Mr. Chairman, Board of Supervisors, my name is Kevin Dahl, Dahl Robinson Associates, and this will be brief, I promise. So I was retained by Yuma County to review the facilities of point discharges that ultimately take water to the Colorado River, and review of the how do you advance? So this is a review of the MS4 and NIPSES requirements. It's a facility review and it's a regulatory review. And key objectives were to observe and make recommendations to treat the water ultimately that makes it to the Colorado River, which includes an assessment of all the facilities that pump water to the river, drain by gravity to the river, whatever it may be. There are Well, this is the project schedule, so it just gives you an idea of the scope. The scope of the study, again, was for control of sediment. When it rains, what happens to the sediment? Oil separation, any oils or petroleum products that are on the streets get drained or washed into the basins. Screening of the bigger materials. Direct discharges are bad. Those are the direct discharges that would ultimately allow water to flow uncontrolled into the river. The flow metering and pressure device, and then any deficiencies. So there's 5 system areas, and we'll go through one briefly at each of these system areas. Avenue C outfall is taking water from the neighborhoods and some regional basins along Avenue C, and these include some groundwater pumps, ultimately make it to the mode. And of these areas that we've analyzed as recommendations, the highlighted ones are the ones that are probably the most, or the most critical ones to take care of. The Reby Basin has a system that it drains into the basin and it drains out of the basin. There's really no control for the oil and stuff, so we're going to take care. It really takes a pump station to take care of that one. 5th Street is a direct discharge. That drains directly into the pumps and it pumps directly to the river. So we'll mitigate that with an oil separator. The next system is the Yuma Mesa conduit connections. These are primarily pump stations that are connected to the conduit. And of all of those, 16th Street is a direct discharge. If you turn the pumps on, it just goes directly to the river. It's draining water from 16th Street into the MCS basin, into the Villahermosa basin, and there's no mitigation there. It's a direct discharge. So we're going to eventually look at that and to mitigate or to solve that direct discharge. West Yuma Mesa, in fact, a couple of these basins, or 3 of these basins have been completed. In essence, are the addition of oil sand separators, but it's really oil separators. So the water doesn't drain into the Colorado or into the East Main Canal, which ultimately would make it to the river. Notably, Smucker Basin is proposed and upcoming, and that's the one that has the largest impact. There is no means for disposal of the basin, so that'll be a future project. A future pump station will be included to evacuate the Smucker Basin to the conduit to the river. East Yuma Mesa drain system is essentially over by the mall and in the regional basins, the Redondo Basin. And notably on these, it's really the Precision Electric. Water drains directly to the lift station into the basin. Again, that's a direct discharge, so that's a current project that's going to be completed here next year to fix that one. And then the last system is the Yuma Valley Main Drain System. This is essentially all of the subdivisions that drain to the central drain. These are Pioneer Parks, the Park West, the Cibolas, Barclay Ranch. The north inlet to the Barclay Ranch is a direct discharge. As we go down to Somerton, there's a Somerton ADOT basin is right here, and there's a pump station that's going to be under construction here shortly. If you remember last year, there was like a 4-inch rain or 5-inch rain in Somerton, and the county stepped in to help evacuate some of those basins, and this will help mitigate some of that flooding problems. Now, granted, the 4-inch rain is a lot, but we might have more of that coming. So, going on San Luis, the Walmart is right there, and then these are the subdivisions that have maintained basins through the years. And there's really nothing notable other than under the Barclay Ranch is a direct discharge, which needs to be mitigated. Total project costs of all the improvements recommended are $3.6 million. And if you have any questions or comments, we're willing to answer them.
Any questions from the board? Kevin, the cost estimates that were up there, that's for each of those, each basin?
That's for each facility. Okay. That requires improvements. Yeah.
So all of those require improvements of some sort. The highlighted were the ones that will be addressed first?
Yes.
Have the most immediate need?
Yes.
And what happens, how do you mitigate sediment?
Sediment is actually the basins are working very well sediment-wise. Water flows into these basins. The pumps are all turned off. These stormwater pumps are all off. It allows the sediment to settle to the bottom of the basin. So sediment is really not an issue. It's the oil. It's the oils, and it's and currently the MS4 requirement is to do a visual. If there's a sheen on it, you might have a problem. If there's no sheen, and I would say by and large, most of these basins, for the rains we get, are perking out. They're not even being pumped to the river. They perk into the ground. So the recommendations are essentially to install oil separators as a long-term goal, and that was a requirement of the Bureau. So sediment, so all in all, I would say probably the biggest deficiency is some of the direct discharges into the river, and maintenance at the head walls, sediment discharges at the head walls. So it just needs to get on a maintenance schedule.
Mr. Chairman,
Sure.
I have one question. Aren't these subdivisions all supposed to provide their own retention?
They do. Most of these basins are constructed by the developer. This is a study of how the water is discharged into the river.
Okay.
So up until now, up until last year or a few years ago, what's driving this is the oil, is the sheen, is what the Bureau is looking at. So all of these facilities are working well. It's just, how do you protect the water from
being contaminated? Yes. Thank you.
Any other questions? You did make it a brief presentation. You barely had enough time to get back. Thank you. The next item in the agenda is something that I like to, use the executive prerogative of moving it to the end of the meeting. It's something I want to take a little more time to discuss.
For the item that just was completed, you would need to accept, but
Oh,
accept the
sorry.
report?
I did not realize that. If you had no questions, then I need a motion to accept the report as presented.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been a motion and second to accept the report as presented. Any more discussion? No more discussion? All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right then. Now, the next item, I'd like to move that item to the end of the meeting so that we can have more time to discuss this and get the zoning and public hearings out of the way. All right, the next item then will be expedited rezoning and public hearings. These items will be open as a group for public hearing and acted upon by one motion to adopt the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission, except for any item that is removed by a board member for separate consideration. That item will be discussed and acted upon separately following action on expedited items. There's only one item, I think, on the expedited agenda. So if you want to go for a full presentation, then we will have a PowerPoint presentation, and then we'll open it to discussion and have a public hearing. So if you want to do it, see, this is what is a little confusing to me, because if nobody asks to get the full presentation, do we still go through this process?
Mr. Chairman, Javier Barraza, Senior Planner, it'll be up to the board if they desire.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes,
So it's
I
just
understand,
really
yes.
up to the board to decide
Yes.
whether we have a full presentation, a public hearing, and so on and so forth. Does anybody on the board feel the need to have a full presentation on this item?
I'd just like to make a comment if I could, Mr. Chairman, to John. Thank you for taking this back and making the amendments to it to satisfy a lot of the neighbors and stuff in the area. So
Yeah.
taking that extra time to go back and do that, I just want to say thank you.
All right, so let me, before we take on the item and open it up fully, remind everyone, we've had this item before. This was sent back for some corrections. We discussed this at length. So unless somebody has something in particular other than that, I would entertain a motion to approve. I thought,
Mr.
I
You want a
thought,
public hearing.
do we have to have a public hearing? All right, so, okay, all right. All right, now I'm gonna open it. We're not gonna need the whole presentation. I'm just gonna open this up to the public and see if there's anyone there that would like to address the board on this particular item. And we're a little rusty on this one. Anybody in the public that wants to address the board on this particular item? If not, I'm closing the public hearing and then open it up for a vote by the board.
Mr. Chairman, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Move that we approve rezoning case number 18-07 as presented.
I'll second.
Doing a motion and second to approve the item as presented. Any more discussion on the item? It doesn't feel like the city council meeting, does it, John? All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries there. All right. we will move on then to the regular public hearing items. In this items, the staff will make a full presentation, highlighted full presentation, on each of the following items, followed by a separate discussion, public hearing, and action by the Board of Supervisors. First item is discussion and possible action concerning possible text amendments to the Yuma County zoning ordinance, section 401.00 manufactured home permits, section 801.03 sign area, section 1102.02 H, and section 1108.09 swimming pools, hot tubs, jacuzzis, and pool mechanical equipment. There will be a PowerPoint presentation, I think. Susan, Jolie, Yolanda?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Maggie Castro, Planning and Zoning Director. I do not have a PowerPoint presentation on this item. It is a discussion and possible action to review some changes that were presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission on at the August regular meeting. The proposed changes are to section 401.01 of the zoning ordinance. And those changes have to do with some changes that took place at the state level, renaming the Arizona Department, the Office of Manufactured Housing to the Arizona Department of Housing Manufactured Housing Division. So staff is proposing just changes to correspond to the changes that took place at the state level. The changes to section 801.03 of the zoning ordinance are concerning a discrepancy in the requirements for off-site signs, which are billboard signs. And staff is proposing requiring a separation of a separation of 54 inches and a degree and 30-degree angle for V-shaped signs. The current zoning ordinance requires an angle of 30 degrees and a maximum distance between the faces to be no more than 2 feet. So staff ran into this discrepancy a few months ago when a developer or a sign company was proposing a billboard sign, and the current requirement was pretty impossible to be met based on the size of that proposed billboard sign. The changes to section 1102.02 of the zoning ordinance are to correspond with changes or with what's required in the building code for pumps, filtration equipment, heaters, and other apparatus required for the operation of pools and spas. And also the same changes, not the same changes, similar changes are being proposed under section 1108.09. And like I said, it's so that the changes are in compliance with what's required in the building code for swimming pools, spas, hot tubs, and associated mechanical equipment.
Maggie, my name is James. What is different between the state code to our code? Looks like we're more restricted. Why?
For where? It's normally the
For
setback.
swimming pools, we're changing, we're adding terminology that's currently in the building code. And also we're proposing changes to the setbacks for swimming pools, spas, and hot tubs. That's a current requirement, but it's not addressed the same way it's addressed in the building code. And then also making changes to the requirements for barriers to correspond to what's required in the building code.
So what we're doing is meeting what already exists, but making it
Building code.
obvious in that particular section of the code.
Correct. It's already required, but it's conflicting. The requirements in the zoning ordinance conflict with what's required in the building code. So we're making the changes to the zoning ordinance so that they match what's in the building code.
Thank you.
All right. I didn't notice that, you know, they didn't actually, that, to me, it's even more problematic because what it does in the swimming pool area, in the enclosing, the fence you know, it was pretty definite there. It was, you know, it shall be a fence, a wall no less than 5 feet, that kind of stuff. And now you just refer to Yuma County Comprehensive Building Safety Code, which most people would have a tough time finding. I mean, in other words, you're not making it any simpler. If I read that code, I'd be sent to another, you know, to a full code to find out.
Mr. Chairman, I can refer you to defer this question to the chief building official. He's here.
Okay, well, this is before we open it up to the public. This is, you know, conversation here. Go ahead. I mean, I thought we were making them simpler for people to, you know, just get to that section, read what's in that section, and know what to do. Now, it seems to me like we're actually directing people to take a look at the Yuma County Building Code, which may not be as accessible, or it may just require more, you know, to take more action than.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Pat Headington, Building Fire Code official. So if we look back into the history of this particular statute, it began with a barrier at 4 feet high, not 5 feet. Recent changes have modified that statute and taken that barrier up to a height of 5 feet to coincide with what we already have in our building code, okay? So what this amendment here is really going to affect and do, it's going to reduce the amount of time that planning staff and building safety staff spend on doing and reviewing one topic, and that's just pool barrier and pool safety. It's going to reduce, it's going to shift that responsibility from planning staff over to building staff where it's been forever. So we're not going to be duplicating efforts on reviewing pool fencing. So our pool fence requirements are published in the building code. They are available for, and we do readily provide copies to the community at their request. Looking ahead, what the International Code Council has done is they've pulled the pool requirements out of the building codes and created a separate document and ordinance which will be coming forward later this year.
Oh, so you are.
This is basically effectively going to eliminate duplication of efforts within development services on one topic.
Okay, well, if you're going to deal with it as a separate issue later down the road so that when people are building a pool, they can always get all the information from that particular section, it'd be okay. But, you know, what I didn't particularly like or was inclined to was like, you know, having people go through, you know, get to that section and then be sent to another section or be sent to a document they may not all be able to either access or be, you know, it's, I mean, if I'm looking for pool, you know, restrictions on pools and so on and so forth, I like to find them in that section. And I thought that was, you know, pretty clear from what we had before. You could read that section and figure out that you needed to have an enclosure, whatever. Now it sends you to something else. And I know it makes it easier for people who technically incline, I mean, like, you know, the staff, but it's not the same thing with people who just go look for something.
Well, Mr. Chairman, as mentioned, the requirements, with the exception of the barrier height in the state statute, were exactly the same as what we have in the building code, as far as the gates, self-closing, self-latching, and those kinds of things. The difference was that height.
Yeah.
So once they modified the statute to bring it up to that 5 feet, planning staff started looking at that, which building staff have been doing for years and years already, and we do that in the field. Effectively, all we're really doing is no, we're just not duplicating efforts.
All right. Okay, well, we're going to listen to what the public has to say about this. All right, thank you. I'm going to open it up to the public now. Is there anyone in the public that wants to make any comment in regards to this particular changes? I would be opening it up to the public. Nobody? Well, going once, going twice. This is it. We're moving on. These changes are for board discussion. Is there any questions that you need to address to the staff or anything else, board members, before you make a motion? No? If not, then I'll entertain a motion to either approve or disapprove the item as presented.
Mr. Chairman,
Text amendments.
The motion would be to return the item to the Planning and Zoning Commission so they can initiate a text amendment to the zoning ordinance.
Oh, wow, all right. Then, as you've heard, the motion is to return it to planning and zoning so that they can go to a full text change amendment and then be brought back to us for final?
Correct.
All right, so this is a process, there's still time. So I'll entertain a motion to do that.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second to go ahead and send it back to planning and zoning for a full text read and amendment. Any discussion on the item? No discussion. All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right. The next item is also for development services, and it's a minor amendment, case number 2018-MA-03, Christopher Robbins, agent for Cactus Kush Farms LLC, requests to change the land use designation of a 7.8 acre portion of parcel 62.63, or a parcel 62.63 gross acres in size from agricultural rural preservation to agricultural rural development, which would be an assessor's parcel number 140-22-004, located in the southwest corner of the alignment of Avenue 74E and County 17.5 Street North, Hyder, Arizona. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Fernando Villegas, presenting minor amendment case 2018 MA-03.
Mr. Chairman, before
Maggie?
he proceeds with the presentation, items
Your
two.
name?
Maggie Castro, Planning and Zoning Director. Items 2 and 3 are concerning the same property. One is a minor amendment, the other one is a rezoning case, and the board can
Take both of
open
them at the
both
same time.
items
All right,
together.
good. Thank you for the clarification. And I'm going to open rezoning case number 1809, which is Christopher Robbins again, agent for Cactus Kush Farms LLC, which requests a rezoning of 7.8 acre portion of a parcel 62.63 gross acres in size from rural area 40 acre minimum to rural area 5 acre minimum on assessor's parcel number 140-22-004, located on the southwest corner of the alignment of Avenue 74E and County 17.5 Street North in Hyder, Arizona. All right, so I'm opening up both. The first one is the minor amendment to the general plan to change land use designation. Staff?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The applicant's intent is to rezone 7.8 acres from RA40 to RA5 to allow the land division for the proposed parcel and the recently approved medical marijuana cultivation site. The subject property, as you mentioned, is located in Hyder, Avenue 74E and County 17.5 Street in North in Hyder. All surrounding parcels have the same land use designation, with the exception of the recently approved 5 acres to the east. Those are now agriculture, industrial. We have an aerial. The subject parcel shows the subject area and adjacent parcels. We have some pictures. This one is looking northeast from the southwest corner. We received no comments in favor or in opposition for this case. Planning and Zoning Commission for the minor amendment is recommended approval of this request because the change will not be detrimental or destructive to the existing rural agriculture character of the area, because the change helps to achieve the goals of the Dayland East County planning area. Mr. Chairman, this concludes the minor amendment presentation. Do you want me to continue with the rezoning?
No, let me get this done. You know, at least the second part doesn't happen unless the first part gets approved. So let's get this one done. I'll open up the public hearing for this portion of the items in the agenda. Is the applicant or the representative here? Now, would just please step up to the podium in case board members have a question, or any member of the public would like to make a statement.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Adrian Vega, Dar Robinson Associates, 1560 South 5th Avenue. We're the agent for the property owner, and as mentioned, we're just trying to get this parcel, the land use and the zoning in order to complete a land division. and I'm here to answer any questions if you guys have any.
All right, does the member of the board have any questions? If not, I'm gonna open it, well, even if you do, I'm gonna open it to the public in case there's someone in the public that'd like to make a comment. Any questions? Anybody in the public? Thank you very much. Takes care of the public hearing portion of this item. Board members, unless you have a questions, I'd like to have a motion to either approve or disapprove minor amendment case number 2018 MA-03.
I'll make a motion to approve the minor amendment case number 2018-MA-03.
I'll second that.
Then a motion and second to approve minor amendment case number 2018-MA-03. Any discussion on the item? No discussion on the item. All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. I am opening up the public hearing section of rezoning case number 1809. The presentation, is there any different than the one you gave before? All right, so we had the presentation. I'm opening the public hearing. The agent for the agent for Cactus Kush Farm is here. He's already introduced himself. I'm opening it up again to the public for discussion. Is there any discussion from the public on this item? There being none, I'll close the public hearing and go back to the board for their decision.
Make a
Again,
motion.
go ahead,
that
sorry.
we approve rezoning case number 1809.
Is there a second?
Second.
Then motion and second to approve rezoning case number 1809 with the, as approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission, which means it will contain all the restrictions and all the requirements that the Planning and Zoning Commission has, placed on it. I'm opening the item. There's been a motion and a second. I'm opening the item for discussion. Any discussion from any of the board members? No discussion. All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The motion carries. That concludes the item 2 and 3 items on the agenda. Thank you very much. And we'll go to item number 4, which is development services again. Planning and zoning is rezoning case number 18-10. Robert Schaefer requests the rezoning of 2 parcels totaling approximately 28,314 square feet in size from rural area 20-acre minimum to low-density residential 12,000 square foot minimum on assessors parcels number 459-59004. It's located at 10551 North Martinez Lake Road and 459-59-005, which is located at 10567 North Martinez Lake Road, Yuma, Arizona. There will be a PowerPoint presentation by the planning staff.
Thank you, Chairman Reyes, members of the board. Juan Leal Rubio, Senior Planner with the Planning and Zoning Division. The intent of this rezoning is to bring both properties into compliance with the R112 zoning district. The applicant wishes to build an accessory structure for a boat storage. This is the vicinity map of the subject property, parcels 4 and 5. To the southwest, we have the lake, zone RA20. In green, you have properties on all sides, which are zone RA20. The property parcels 19 and 20, zone R120, contains 2 single-family site-built residences. Parcel 1, 459-59001, also zone RA20, but contains a, I believe, a duplex. Parcel 2, also located to the west. Parcel 25 is the location of the little water plant that serves the area. This is the site plan provided by the applicant that shows the proposed lot line division or land division. This is how currently the lot line sits, and this is what they're proposing. This is an aerial imagery of the property. This is looking south at the subject properties. Looking north, state land, north from the subject properties. Looking east along Martinez Lake Road. Looking west along Martinez Lake Road. Staff has not received any opposition or comments in favor for this proposal. We did receive comments from internal and external agencies, but no objections. Staff is recommending approval, and the commission also recommended approval with following performance conditions that within 60 days by approval by the board, The applicant submitted an ARS 121134 waiver and a schedule for development disclosure statement. That within 1 year approved by the board, the applicant submit a land division permit in accordance with section 507 of the Yuma County zoning ordinance, and that each lot meets the minimum 12,000 square foot minimum of the required by the R112 zoning district. And that concludes staff's presentation.
All right. Any questions from the board? If no questions from the board, I'll open up the public hearing. Is Mr. Schaefer or anyone that would like to come up and say a few words? Remembering that, remember that this is like your head of game now.
Well, I'm Robert Schaefer. I live on the Martinez Lake Road, 10551, and I have no questions if you all have questions.
Thank you, Mr. Schaefer. Did the board have any questions for Mr.
I
Schaefer?
have one.
Sure.
How many boats do you plan on storing?
2, and then of course a razor. And we all, as boys, have lots of toys, and they just keep growing.
Yeah.
All right, that's it. Any other questions? No? Thank you, Mr. Schaefer. I'm opening it up to the public. Is there anyone in the public that would like to address the board on this particular item? No? All right, thank you.
Can I get my picture taken?
If you want to donate something, you can. All right. It's been the
Mr. Chair, I have one more question. Mr. Schaefer, can you come back?
See, I told you, the more you stand in there, the more likely you're going to get a question.
All the boats and other mechanicals will all be family owned, right? I mean, it's not going to, you're not leasing that to anybody.
No, not rental or just strictly my stuff.
Just strictly, that's all I need. Thank you.
Just one, this is a comment for Mr., no, not for you, Mr. Schaefer, you're fine. This is for staff. Mr. Rubio, I couldn't help but notice that you put in SFD on the presentation in there. I was trying to figure out what that meant, and it's a schedule for development. You know, it's getting to a point now where I guess we assume everybody knows what those mean, but I couldn't figure it out. I said, what is an SFD? Until you finally said a schedule for development. So, you know, remembering that, you know, next time, you know, remember most of the people who's looking at that really, you know, when you see 3 letters or something may not understand. So for the next presentation, you know, spend a little more time and maybe put in the word, the complete word. I know we all do that, especially now that we text and we do all this stuff. We have a tendency to you know, put words into smaller things, but I couldn't figure out what the SFD meant until you said schedule for development.
Let's say for development.
Yeah, but you're smarter than most of us, right? Thank you. Any questions on this particular item? If there is no questions, I'll entertain a motion for approval or denial.
I'll make a motion, we approve the rezoning case number 18-10.
There a second? Yeah, there's motion and a second to approve rezoning case number 1810. Is there any discussion on this item from the board? No discussion on the item. All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. That takes care of this item. Mr. Schaefer, thank you for coming all this way. The next item is, I'm going to go back to an item for discussion that I postponed till the end of the meeting, which was item number 2 on the discussion and action items. It's the item on the discussion and possible direction regarding the County Supervisor Association legislative priorities and county proposals for the 2019 Arizona legislative session. The reason I wanted to do this, Susan, is because I wanted to discuss a little bit more the meeting they're having here later in the week. Unless you have something else set up for us to discuss it, this would be a pretty good place to do it.
Either way, I know that yourself, Supervisor McLeod, and I are going to be meeting afterwards to talk about who you would like to see do different pieces, like introducing a guest speaker or doing an invocation or pledge of allegiance, those kinds of things at the 3-day summit.
I received a very, very detailed agenda, you know, discussion points and all this other stuff from the CSA people, and I wonder whether it would be somewhat proper to discuss a little bit, not when we have a chance as a board, if there's anything that the board may want to do or anything different about the schedule that is coming up. You know, we're going to be talking about who says what and who does what, but the rest of the board may want to talk a little bit about it. So I figured, okay, because this item opens that up, it allows us to talk a little bit about, some who's going to go where, who's going to do what. So I'm opening up this item, which is discussion and possible direction regarding the County Supervisor Association legislative priorities and county proposals for the 29th Arizona legislative session. And we're going to focus on the presentation that we'll be giving at this particular meeting taking place, was it Wednesday?
Begins Wednesday.
Begins Wednesday.
Wednesday
yeah.
afternoon, right?
Begins Wednesday evening, yes.
Okay, so at this particular time, it begins Wednesday evening with, is it the day that everybody takes tours?
Yeah, I'll just briefly kind of walk through the.
Can you walk us through? Yes.
Proposed agenda. So people are invited to come anytime Wednesday. The event itself, the CSA summit itself begins in the evening with a reception, but prior to that, in the morning, it's on your own golf, which I believe Supervisor Porteous is going to be doing. And then at 11 o'clock, there are two different tours that people had to sign up for in advance. One is the experimental farm from 11 to 2, and the other is the MCAS tour from 11 to 2. Then, and those, they leave and return to the Hilton Garden Inn.
All right, so I heard you say that Supervisor Porteous is going to be handling the golf.
I think he's participating in the golf.
I don't know. I think we better find a better golfer to handle and have this game. I don't even know. But you're going to be playing golf with some of the guests. Okay, good. And who's going to the MCA's tour?
I know I am. I'm not sure who of the.
I am.
So 2 supervisors going to the MCA tour. And the experimental farm? I am. He is. So somebody from the board will be participating in all this, in this particular events, okay? All right, practice, people. Don't embarrass us. So
And
what happened?
there's a reception and the dinner that night on Wednesday night. That's a CSA hosted dinner, and Tina Clark, the historian here locally, has been asked to speak at that event. So we'll have someone you can talk about who would be the best person to introduce Tina Clark. The next day begins the actual summit, the legislative proposals, where the CSA staff talks about the highlights that are countywide interests going into the legislative session. And then each county that submitted a proposal, there are actually 13 total, they'll explain their proposal and the rationale behind it. And then it gives the other counties an opportunity to weigh in on how it would impact their county, and it may be good or it may be bad. And so there's some of that discussion that talks about whether, and people have an opportunity to weigh in on whether we should support it as a CSA entire organization, or if there's really there's a split, or it's going to impact certain counties negatively and they don't want to support that at the entire CSA level. So that's the discussion portion, goes into the evening. Then that night, Thursday evening, Yuma County is hosting a reception and dinner at the Civic Center. We're going to be contacting them just in case there's a plan B, because it's outside in the terraces on the outside, the backside of the Civic Center. So we'll host the dinner. We're having dancers, folkloric dancers from Gadsden, and a DJ. So we'll have some musical entertainment and some giant lawn games that people can play that Visit Yuma is providing. So there's a head table at which the executive committee for CSA will be placed, and then tables all around the terrace area, so that people can engage in conversation as well as watch the entertainment. And then we'll have a bunch of raffle prizes, which would be nice, that have been donated by various individuals. Then the next day is the early morning caucuses of the medium, small, and large counties, where they talk about their specific interests with regard to these proposals. How does it impact, in our case, medium counties? And we have that dialogue and get together about, do the medium counties have a slate of proposals that they all want to support? So after that breakfast, then they go back into the general session with all the counties together and formally vote on which proposals will make it into the CSA legislative slate of priorities for going into the following year. And will be done about noon on Friday.
Okay, so that sort of gives you you've already attended a couple of them, because I know some of you have already attended a couple of them, so you know more or less what the process is. There's a reception Wednesday night. It's a full day of work on Thursday with a dinner, at the Civic Center, and then to conclude around noon on Wednesday, depending on how long it takes to vote on the legislative priorities for the organization itself, right? We didn't provide like an immersion. We should have had an immersion tour into Algodones or Mexico for some, adventures, guys, where we take them in and drop them in there and pick them up whenever they, survive, if they survive. But didn't think of that in time. You should have done that. Anyway, and I did notice a lot of the presentation was by Supervisor Smith. Is he the chairman this year?
Yes.
He's the president, CSA president.
Well, I was going to have Supervisor McLeod take over that, that particular one, but.
You'll be president soon enough.
Well, okay, all right. Any questions about the schedule or anything that you guys have set up or,
Oh, and I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that the Thursday lunch meeting, Governor Ducey will be the speaker. He'll actually join us for lunch as well as be the speaker for the lunch.
On Thursday?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. So we'll be talking about who introduces him and that kind of stuff between us three, right? All right, okay. That pretty much tells you what, is coming up on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I hope. If
you want to go through the individual proposals or just?
Yeah, now we're going to go through that. I just wanted to make sure we got that out of the way. So now we're going to go through the individual proposals that are up in the agenda. So, Susan, take us through.
I'm looking at on my screen the summary sheet, which includes the top section of that is the CSA coalition priorities. So those are things that the counties agreed upon last year and that may continue to be priorities going into the coming legislative session. And that will be continued relief from the counties, from the state cost shifts. So that's the Arizona Department of Juvenile Corrections, which at the statewide level affects counties to the tune of $11.2 million. And of course, Yuma County is part of that. Continuing the hold harmless for EORP. Now, we did not receive the benefit of that. The 8 smallest counties received the hold harmless for the EORP program. We did not. We talked about at the county managers meeting, we talked about wanting to get relief for all counties. So I think that's our priority, but at the very minimum, we want to continue the relief for those 8 smallest counties, with the goal of really getting into more full-scale EORP reduction. Now that cost us $758,000 on an ongoing basis. The changes to EORP were the increase in our contribution went from 15% to 61%. And then protect ongoing county relief items, because the state did give us some relief on an ongoing basis, but we need to make sure they don't pull that back. So we're trying to build on the trust that the state legislature has given to us, but we need to be very watchful of that so that it doesn't get taken away. The internet sales are a big deal, and so the state needs to come up with a standard definition for what economic presence means in order to allow for taxation of internet sales. Expenditure limits, some counties are very much hurt by this, and it would actually help all counties if the expenditure limitation was eliminated or at least raised. So they'll get into more details about that. Yuma County is not affected by this at the current time, but we certainly would want to help out our fellow counties. Increased investment in transportation and road building, that is the HERF issue, and continuing to provide more investment and more funding sources for road maintenance. Ongoing need for financial flexibility. We have the flexibility language that Yuma County has used a few times, but very rarely. We don't typically need to use the flexibility. That means you can pay for any obligation from any source. So let's say we had an obligation that in the general fund and we needed to use flood control money to solve that, or the jail had a problem because their fund balance was really low and we could subsidize that from another fund. So we want to maintain that flexibility throughout all the counties. And then I don't know if you want to talk specifically about each of the county proposals from the individual counties. they'll have I don't want to
No, I don't.
presume what they intend, because we talked a little bit about it at the county managers meeting and clarified some things, but until the county actually expresses themselves what their issues are and why they want to propose these items for consideration, I don't think we want to.
No, we have an
We're going to
attachment.
second guess what they're going to do until they tell us what they want to do.
Yeah, but there's an attachment to the agenda that goes, through them. When I read item number 7, I didn't really understand what that meant.
Right, and-
Districted was not, it's maybe distracted, but, it said districted, so I figured, well, is it talking about?
It's a misspell.
I know it's a misspell. I was just trying to figure that,
Now,
I
that
could
one
figure
is-
that out. But-
Mojave County is recommending or proposing a distracted driving in school and work zones prohibition. But we talked at the managers meeting about why would we
Why
not
would you do?
just,
It's already
why would
there.
it only be in school zones? Why not everywhere have a distracted driving prohibition? So I'm sure there'll be a lot of discussion at the summit itself about that issue.
All right. So like I said, everybody gets a chance to get a little more familiar with that. There is an attachment in there that basically gives you the summary of what they're suggesting. We prioritize as something that we want to get behind. Other than that, I think that, we have to wait until they present it themselves and see where they're coming from and what they need. Is there anything in particular you guys want to focus on?
I don't think so. I think in years past, didn't we go through each one of them? Trying to remember.
Well, yeah, and somehow it predisposes us. I mean, unless we want to take a position as a county already, which I'm not sure. Sometimes I think if there's one that's really important that that we kind of feel we need to get involved with early, and that any one of us feels that we need to present a solid position on it. If you see anything in there, this would be a good time to talk about it. I mean, if there's something in there that you must, that you have objections to, that you like to have the rest of the board take a position on, this would be the time. Is there anything in there that you see that you think we need to be pretty much solidly behind or solidly in opposition? This would be the time to discuss it.
And I sent this proposal, the list of proposals and all the details to all the directors, and really didn't hear much response back.
No, it's early. I mean, it's really, like I said, unless something really stands out in there that we feel it's something that we need to take a position right now before we even hear the rest of the presentation, this would be the time to bring it forth. And I think that's what Supervisor McLeod is referring to, because we've done that in the past. There had been some issues in there that we're so strongly opposed to, or so much in favor of it, that we wanted to make sure that by the time we got there, it would be a county position. Because it's difficult to, it would be a county position when we're there, but I mean, it won't be a situation where we have a chance to discuss it between us. It would be more like a broad discussion with everybody involved and then voting on it. And when we vote on there, when we vote, one vote per person.
Mm-hmm.
So, we may not, unless, if there's something in there you guys think that we need to all be, united behind or in opposition, bring it out now.
I don't think I have anything that I feel that strongly on.
There's some things in there like the indigent burial and cremation county cost recovery that to me, that's so simple. I mean, obviously what we're looking for is, look, we're doing all these things and, we're not allowed to pass the cost on because there's nobody to pass on the cost to. So what do we do with those things? We're required to provide that service and we're not given the funds to do it. A lot of the stuff has to be, it's along the same, the same line, but there are some, the ballot gas tax, for example, that may be one of the issues that would be an issue that, you really wanted to either get behind or the pension plan discussions. That, those are pretty important. But I'd say that, we need to wait to see what the position of the rest of the counties are before we either get behind or in a position of a proposal. Anything else, guys? If nothing else, then we'll move on to the last item in the agenda, which is, I think, the item where we do the current events, the event calendar, current events. Board members and county administrators will report on and may discuss events attended or to be attended on behalf of the county. We may present a brief summary of current events or may update the schedule for future board supervisors meeting as appropriate. This will be that no legal action will be taken, And, you know, we will start with Supervisor Pancrase, who's back on full bloom here.
Oof, here I am. Mr. Chairman, I attended the 9th Annual Day of Remembrance for murder victims. 2 of those victims were former students of mine, and
So it's 90% of the people that I know, I think.
oh, they were former students of mine? Oh, yeah. I know.
Yeah.
I've taught a few, yeah. I attended the Wacog Council on Aging board meeting, went to Phoenix and attended the CSA Medium County Caucus and the CSA Board of Directors meeting. I attended the YMPO meeting in Somerton and my Hospice of Yuma board meeting. And I attended the National Preparedness Monthly Luncheon at MCAS. So.
I think you followed me around. I attended the Disaster Preparedness Luncheon at MCAS. Did attend the CSA board meeting up in Phoenix. Attended the Victims' Day of Remembrance that you just referenced. And then, of course, we've been talking about the CSA Summit coming up, so looking forward to that. And I think we should acknowledge the hard work of the staff, particularly I think Desiree, but others, and that have worked so hard to put this together. So I'm sure it will go off very well. Thank you.
All right, Supervisor Simmons.
As well, the disaster preparedness brief at MCAS. Also attended the National Day of Remembrance for the homicide victims. Held my monthly community meeting in the foothills, which was pretty well attended. At AMAC meeting, also the Yuma Area Ag Council meeting. Just remind everybody, December 13th and 14th is going to be the Legislative Ag Tour, mainly for the state legislators that'll be coming down.
Oh, good.
And just remind everybody about McPherson Pass. Please follow the signs so we can keep that open and get through this next season.
All the rules, right?
Yes.
Supervisor Porches.
Yes, I attended the YMPO last week, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah, I think you're missing all those, you know, all those things you have attended on behalf of the county in Mexico.
Oh, yeah. I forget.
You know, it's been a busy month, September. You know, in terms of the Hispanic heritage. I mean, you attended, and thank you for reading that, that proclamation. I think I said that last time. But late, but I was invited to the Mexican president event that they had across the border. I didn't make it. I was on my way to somewhere, I guess, and didn't make it. But it was it's an interesting time. There's a lot of changes happening, and I think that we're lucky to have someone like you involved with the mayors, because it's a mayor's game, and you've been involved with them, and you seem to get along with them very well. You seem to be part of them more than, we'll talk about that later. But anyway, that there's a lot of meetings coming up. There is actually the pedestrian lane crossing in San Luis. I'm not sure, because there was some confusion about whether that was opened up last Monday or Tuesday, or whether it's happening in October sometime. There was an invitation to go do that at the beginning, I think in September, and then they moved it. But regardless, it's a beautiful facility, and hopefully if they actually open it to the public, or open it, do a ribbon cutting, we'd probably it'd be good to be there and see that. It's going to mean a lot for those the residents of those communities, those people that cross all the time. I attended the ribbon cutting ceremony of the law library, the expansion of the law library, and it brought back memories, because that's where I think John Smith used to have his offices, down below the old courthouse, and so it's incredible what they've done over there, because I think at some particular time your kids used to roam in the back of that building, and under that building. You used to roam as a kid in that
Used to
building.
roam back there as a child.
When your father was the county attorney.
I think it was a holding facility down there too at one point.
Well, they couldn't hold you.
Oh yeah, what, years ago?
You remember that?
Years ago,
Yeah.
but I when I called in to get there, and I called in Cindy, because Cindy was going to, I asked her, Cindy, are you how do you get there from the new building? And she said there's like a little connecting, like a tunnel, and you know, when I got in there, it's incredible. I thought it was like a small space, you know, with like a small, you know, a bunch of old books that you look into, and you know, it's not that anymore. It's a pretty sophisticated place. It's got you know, access to Westlaw. It's, you know, on computers, and you know, it's really impressive, the effort that the county, that the justice system has made to make sure the county is accessible to the public, and I think that's reflected on the seminars and the attendance, that, you know, people who go there to get this kind of services. And it's something to be proud of. I think just like victim, you know, services have grown a lot in Yuma County, it's because someone takes a particular attention to this, and so I'd like to commend the people in the Justice Department down there that have now taken upon them the task of advising and supporting people who cannot or may not be able to afford an attorney, and that needs, you know, help. And the thing that struck me as also very, very critical is the fact that they have taken translation to the next level. They're doing everything now in Spanish, and you know, they've got a bunch of translators. They are the ribbon cutting. There was like 3 or 4 of them in there, and they're really active, and they really like to get the word out. So it's just an incredible program, and you know, hopefully people have a chance to go out there and get more familiar with that service. That's it. Susan? Oh, was last thing. I was in Tampa Bay 3 days last week, and I expected it to rain hard, and it didn't. It sprinkled a couple of times, and I get to Yuma, and yesterday it was like, you know, they were spraying it with the hose. It was really bad.
So I attended the ICMA, International City County Management Association conference in Baltimore, and it rained every day there. And came back to beautiful sunny Yuma. It was wonderful, but it's also good to have some rain. I attended the YMPO meeting down in Somerton just a few days ago. So that's it.
We're having a little bit of a hard time setting up the Greater Yuma, Yuma Port Authority, because of all the conflicts in schedule. And I think we're getting down to a date that we can probably try to do that. So that's something that's in the calendar. I think that's it. Unless there's anybody else that has anything to say, that would conclude today's meeting, this morning's meeting. Thank you. All right.